All right, about to get started on a late night here at what I call the Real Don't Shop. And what do we have here? The big block that I just put in and I took for one cruise. I will show some footage of that one cruise later on. And it's back out. So I had sporadic oil pressure. I guess it technically never went low. Um, at times where I saw it should have been 60 psi idling, it would drop down to 40 and then would come back up. So oil pressure shouldn't really fluctuate. You can see it bounce a little bit if it's chopping really, really hard. If it's just idling really, really low, like 500 and under, and it's just clop, 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 clop. Sometimes you can see it shake just a little bit, but this was going from like 40 to 60, and it's like, it's a problem. I've had a problem with the oil pump gear in the distributor, and it caused me to have a zero oil pump prime, like it would not prime the pump, like it would pump like zero oil at all. I would have zero oil pressure. um could redrop the distributor and the bar in between it. See if I can show you what I'm talking about. It would it could get jammed up. So I thought about that, but it's like I looked at the oil and the oil just did not look good. And looking at this here, it looks fine. You can still see there's no marks. I don't know if I think I threw the old one away, but when this becomes a problem, you can kind of see where it'll kind of spin in there. So that right there still looks good. Don't buy the cheap Chinese knockoff MSD. Get the legit MSD. I saw where I was burning up these caps really, really fast when it wasn't the MSD, which you can see that one got hot, but like after one or two passes with the cheap one, it would be burnt up. The same thing with the cap. So thinking about going on coil on plug. It's just I got so much money tied up in the Blaster 3. So about to get this on the engine stand, and I guess I like making predictions because I kind of like being right. It's like my first thing is kind of like I kind of blame myself, like, hey, you must have missed something, you must have did something wrong. So it's like I just replaced crank and rod bearings. I did not do the cams because um, they're kind of like special. Might sound crazy. It's like you can get them, but they're not a typical big block Chevrolet cam bearing. So it's not on the shelf at the machine shop for them to put them in. Okay, so I go, they look fine. It'll pass. That could have been a mistake. It could be a cam bearing. Like that's kind of like what should be the problem because that's the only one I didn't replace. But at the same time, it's like brand new bearings can fail, and sometimes you can see it, and sometimes you can't. It's just what it is. I have gotten what was that, a season and a half? I got a season and a half out of my last set of bearings, and they were still fine. It was just I had a piston issue, so it's like the bearings that I'm using, they're great and they work good for what I'm doing. But they're being mass produced, and they're checking them with the computer, and they're only pulling, I guess, ever so many to really really inspect them. So sometimes stuff happens. So we're gonna see. I feel like there was way too much metal. Like just building one, you're gonna have some metal in it. The actual bearing has a fine coating on it, so you will have some of that. I actually end up cutting the filter, and I didn't like what I saw in the filter. So at that point, it's like, hey, you got to come out. Didn't even make it through an oil change. If my oil pressure was fine and I just saw some metal in it, like some fine metal, it's like, okay, cool, whatever. It's all right. I'll swap the filter, change the oil, and let it run. But in this situation where my oil pressure is sporadic, it's jumping 20, 15, 10 psi at a time. I don't like that. It's not worth buying a crankshaft, rods, or possibly even a block, or um, putting into a knock situation. It's one thing to kind of have a little tick or have a little rattle or see sporadic oil pressure. It's another to actually run a problem until it's knocking. So then you start risking a block, heads, a lot of other parts in there. So didn't want to do that. So shut it down. Gonna completely break it down. That would be the right thing to do. Completely break it down. That way I can get everything washed. Not really feeling that, but the safest thing for me to do right now is just go ahead and pull the heads off. That way I'm kind of forced to break it all the way down, because it's kind of like, if it's a rod, I kind of like just want to clean it, but that's not the right thing to do. I really should like completely break it down, get everything spick and span clean, and that's what I'm gonna do. I just hate these heads, and the rocker arms thing is terrible. It's a lot of work, but this is it. I'm in it, you know. Time to be great. Let's get to it. Late night grind. I'll be back. I'm gonna say in an hour, and let you know what I find.